there'll be a lot less opinion now than there was back then, because we've got a lot more information. We know things now which we didn't know. So we've gone from we think to we know and here's the data. So that should help the elicitation process, because you'll be able to say, oh, and here's the data for that.
Can be used for.
The problem is that you have obviously some hazards in there that you can't test, such as adverse media or opinion conflicts that you will not, unless you run surveys. Some of those variables are qualitative only. So you'll have some where you can test some relationships, such as transmission to humans or whatever else Scott's done. So you'll be able to test those relationships.
But he was asking about forecasting, about making a future prediction. So to be able, this is your scenario analysis.
That's right. Yeah.
So you'll be able to say, well, what would happen if the likelihood of this particular hazard changed?
Yes.
So you can do that, and then you can see the effect on the outcome, how it shifts the likelihood. So
That's
yes,
one of
you
the
can.
main advantages that you can run
Yeah.
very easily. And you do it on the spot in
Yeah.
front of your experts, in front of your decision makers, and you say, well, if perception changed or something like this is how it's going to affect that harm.
So you could say, now what happens if we increase that? What would be the impact on the result?
You can do that.
Yes.
And then you can see that's your sensitivity analysis.
Right.
It allows you to see whether or not the overall cause more harm, whether that would change markedly by shifting a particular event's likelihood.
So are you going to teach us on of course you can, you're an expert.
No, I'm not.
But the complexity probably makes it harder, because you might have matrix, Markov chain, although it's...
No, the base stuff, this is really very simple. And this is the beauty of it, is that non-experts in this room can quickly learn how to use it and start to populate it and make
using the software.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Conditional probability, that probability of event A occurs given the occurrence of event B. And that's the conditional probability. So, for example, what is the probability that a patient has cancer given he comes back with a positive test? So that's the conditional probability is what is his test result given, that's the word given, is coming back as a positive test. So that's a conditional on that test. Whereas if you say what is the probability of a patient having cancer, it's 50-50. You don't know. But if given he's come back positive, then that changes that whole probability. So do you understand that that conditional probability is a causal pathway, that something is bringing evidence in on A to give that final result.
So you understand that?
Yeah, but the probability is based on
Yeah, we have to guess.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
It's an
we need the data
educated
and we
guess.
calculate the probability.
Yeah.
Well,
It's an educated guess then.
Well, it's not necessarily an educated guess, because you will have data.
Yeah.
You might have, for example, data, so likelihood of transfer to humans. It could be an educated guess, I don't think so. Or you could also rely on all the data that Scott O'Neill has of lots of people being fed for many, many hours, and which says, well, all of that data, what conclusion would you draw based on all of the data that's available?
So if tomorrow probably there's a participant asks for, well, I need the data, then how could we provide the data before they decide?
Scott.
Yeah, Scott is here
Yeah.
for that. That's why
Okay.
he's here.
Yeah, Scott has all of this
All
data.
of it.
So he'll be able to present data on request to say, what data do we have? And he'll be able to tell you. So that's why he's here.
Because otherwise, sorry, I don't have the
There's-
data.
They're not going to cover it. There's going to be some times they're going to say, well, the data's not there. But
Yeah.
as you as an expert, what do you think?
Yeah. So for example, we have no data about what the Indonesian media might say. So you're going to have to use your best judgment about
We
that.
can Google that.
Yeah.
My question, how about if some even E, for example, even more than one occurrence?
I'd say you can have two solutions. You talk
Yeah,
about.
more than two or more than one.
We,
Because in the complex situation, we rarely see the relationship between only two
yeah.
variables. Like,
But remember, we're only looking at the negative effect in our hazards. So it's only if it, whatever, if it changes to be negatively impacting on the environment. But we can address, if there is two answers, we can put that in a model, but you do try and avoid that if possible. You do try and sort of say, well, you got to keep remembering, we're trying to answer this question. Does having both of them relate to that question? And hopefully it resolves itself. But yeah, we can, like, for example, we're talking about household control. And now you mentioned yesterday that it could increase, but it could also decrease. So you've got two separate things happening. So we've added that, instead of having two separate nodes, we put that, well, decreased control is probably worse for the environment, but increased control is also a problem. So that's that the decrease is worse, so it's higher up in the state. And then the same, it doesn't change. But so we can address when you build the base net, and you can put so that's the base net. The different results, the different events that can happen in the states.
It's probably best when we get on
Yeah.
to
So
showing you it.
well, we'll be showing you this, but that's
Yeah.
right. There is a number of BaseNet software out there. So this is the one I normally use. It's called Netica. This is Genie. Used to be free, but I just checked last night, and now they sold it on to someone else, and now you have to pay for it. And this is escapes me, Hugon, and it's very expensive. So we use Netica. It's the reason why I use Netica a lot is I bought it a while ago. It's relatively cheap. Around for a license, I think if you look, it's around $500. It's not expensive thing, but there is a free version of it that you can look at models, etc. But if you have more than 15 nodes, which obviously we do, you cannot save changes on it, or you can't make a network without that. So that's one expensive thing that you have to buy software.
Unless if somebody bought us well, $5 is still expensive.
Yeah,
But air is free, so.
yeah, I realise that. And if you've got a programmer, you can who's ready to go and can produce something like that very quickly. I mean, obviously, we're here for the next 2 days, so we've got Netica with us. But if you later want to put it into R and all this, and where you're not doing it in front of a group, then
The simple answer is it's simpler to use an off-the-shelf piece of software
in a workshop.
in a workshop.
Yeah.
Only in books.
In a workshop. If you want to do this outside, then you can create
And it's wouldn't be problem with the license because we have to make a report,
Yeah.
and then the software is not licensed. I mean, we don't have the license.
Yeah.
We are the one responsible for writing a report,
That's exactly right.
and we don't have license.
Yeah.
Is that a problem?
Well, the problem is when we go away, you won't be able to update and change that model, or so you'll have to do post-workshop work on the model side to populate it. So you're collecting probabilities, but you don't have the time to put them in at the workshop and all this.
So we cannot change it once you go.
You no, and that's your problem. So you need to purchase it, or you can work out how to do it in R. And if you've got a
Or we can ask them here what they change it.
Yeah, and then but then
Just for the.
but then this organization is supposed to be independent to the I don't know.
yeah, exactly. Well, see, like for example, the Hugen,
Yes.
the Hugen's up to $5,000, so your $500 is nothing compared to what some of the others are.
So if you buy, is it only just for one person or can
You can get a site license, but it's a bit more expensive. So I think we got a site license, but I bought it back in 2009. I have not had to update it, so and I use it all the time. And I think I paid $1,000 for a site license. This is US, of course, and but that was 2009, and I use it for many models every single year, and I've never had to. I can update to newer versions. And I've never had to renew my site license. So it's
what's it called?
Netica, N-E-T-I-C-A.
Oh,
We have site license for startup. And it works. Very simple. Works
For
in
startup.
Really?
I haven't tried that. Vietnam used Genie, but it was free till the end of last year. And then last year they sold it, and now there's only, if you're an academic, you can get an academic license for free. I don't know if you're linked to universities that have an academic license. Yeah, so you could actually use Genie and
For academic.
for academics, yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's commercial or anything or government, they're charging us for it.
Yeah, but they're all connected to universities.
Well, that's right. You could download Genie. So that bottom one, and that's what, if you
Still,
remember, that's what Vietnam
free.
used.
Yeah.
For academics.
Yeah, yeah. And Hugo won't go there. So this is just show you how it works, right? So this is a very basic Bayesian network. So what it's saying is our end game, will we have wet grass? Now, it's cloudy. Is it cloudy? And so we've got probabilities under each node. So is it cloudy or is it sunny? Obviously, it's only going to rain if it's cloudy, so that's conditional. It won't. If it's sunny, it's not going to. You're going to have not raining. But if it's cloudy, you've got probability it's going to rain. But if it's sunny, you can have the sprinkler on and on or off. So basically, you've got wet grass or dry grass, but it's all conditional. The wet grass or the wet grass is conditional on whether a sprinkler's been turned on or has it rained, and obviously rain is related to is it cloudy. There's another example. If you've Hedwig's talking about parent nodes and child nodes, because I've mentioned it's a causal relationship, so we call all our end nodes parent nodes. Now it's not really important that you need to know these terms. This if you're using this software, and the parent node has a causal relationship to a child node. So it is if it's raining, raining heavy, it's going to affect your road conditions. So if it's heavy rain, it could make the road becomes impassable. But where there's no rain, you're still going to have a passable road, or even light rain is probably not going to affect the passable. So that's really
Just to clarify for these guys,
Yeah.
this means that you have all these hazards. You will organise them in a priority that says what's the causal relationship. So you'll say this causes this, and not the other way around. So you wouldn't have road conditions causes precipitation, but precipitation affects road conditions.
If you remember from our BN, we had different steps going up that indicated a causal relationship. So perceptions cause the difference between whether household control increased or decreased. So that was a causal relationship. Same as all your ecology ones, the weather transfer or environment transfer, if that impacted on the whether the ecological impacts increased or decreased. So it's all those arrows. The arrows indicate it's a causal relationship. Only one way though. It's not going the other way. And then under each of those nodes is your conditional probabilities. So again, sticking to that same example, and this is what we have to get all the experts to give these probabilities. So you have your different states for each of your nodes. So precipitation, remember, it was none, light and heavy, and the road conditions were impassable, passable. So if you've got something really important to see here, it is heavy rainfall. That's much more important. There's a higher probability to make the road impassable compared to if there was no rainfall or only light rainfall. And so, but you may have other nodes that are more important as well. So that's where the conditional probabilities come in. This is important to understand how the Bayes net works. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. So, when you're building your Bayes network, or Bayesian network, you've done your identify your hazards and identify the network structure. We'll work on the network shortly. So that's pre-workshop. This is in your case what we're doing now, right? So that's these last 2 days, and we haven't gone through the process of defining states yet, but we've basically taken, if you've been accepting these definitions, you're going to have the same states. And you saw the states up there, you agree with them. So you've identified the states. And the actual workshop in the next 2 days, you have to readdress this and present what you have already decided on, and get feedback. Make sure that they approve of it. If they need to edit it to add extra, they're not sure or something, they want to, they think there's a node they don't like. That's where that comes in. So you have to get a feedback of what's already been done in pre-workshop. Once the model is accepted, that's when you start collecting these conditional probabilities. Now, I always try and aim to collect conditional probabilities first thing in the morning, basically because people are fresh. And so once you've given all those probabilities, you then enter the evidence. So you put those probabilities into those tables, and I'll show you an example very shortly. And then you compile the net and interpret the results, and I'll show you in a minute. These were our parent nodes, so all the end nodes that were feeding into the actual net, and these were the child nodes. That all these parent nodes have a causal relationship into those child nodes. So basically, when we're talking about some sort of scenario analysis or anything like this, there's probabilities under each of these, but these can be set. So you can say, you already know there's a sufficient monitoring occurring. But the main thing is the probability tables under the child nodes, because they're quite big, and because they're looking at every combination of each state for each node in there. So, for example, mosquito management, you can imagine you've got 5 nodes going into there with 2 states in each node, and they're looking at every combination. So it becomes quite a big table. Any questions?
Okay.
Before we work on the child nodes, get the probabilities for the child nodes, right? Because you're going with the child nodes, you're looking at every potential combination. So you're looking at every one of those states, whether it's likely, possible, or unlikely for invertebrate transfer. You're looking at every one of those, and you're getting the probability for each.
Okay.
For the parent nodes, basically, that's when you get what data's out there and go, well, we already know that vertebrate transfer is very unlikely, so we can probably set that to see. If you notice the examples we were showing you recently, that a lot of these parent nodes were already set too high because it was already decided that it's very unlikely and that. So the parent nodes are going to be very quick to do. But it's... so I'll give you an example. How to build base net.
Listen.
You can add it. Alright, so let's do the cancer one. Positive.
Has cancer is the child node.
Has is a child node, that's right. Well done. Now, this is a very, very simple example. So this, you see this arrow here? This is it adds the link to add the causal relationship. So basically, then underneath this one, it's a table. You can see now it's got whether there's an illness, whether it's got a combination for each state and each node it says. So this is for the remember it's probability, so it's got to add up to 100 between 0 and 100. So pretty much you do something like this. That if they're ill and they have a positive test towards cancer, they're fairly much cancer, right? Or you can do 95.5 or something like this. They're ill with a positive test, so that's probably going to be a bit lower. So let's say 20, 80, and they're not ill but have a positive test. This is very random, okay? 40. And then no, so 0. So if you see here, basically we've got the top one is your best case scenario, and the bottom one's your worst case scenario. Alright, so apply, okay. Now if we you can set the likelihood here, but you don't really. So if you were just doing a scenario, let's say this person's ill. Oh, hang on, I have to compile it first. So you see this little lightning bolt here. It says compile network. So we hit that, and so now we've got that's actually active, that network. So we can choose. Let's say that person's ill. So he's ill, and he has a positive test. Then 100% chance that person's got cancer. But let's say he's ill, but he got a positive test, but so there's only 20% chance he's got that cancer. So that's how it's working.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very simple.
Nice.
And that's how you. So you imagine that with your with your risk analysis, your model there. You have a lot of hazards going into that model that you can play around, and that's the beauty about this thing, that you can sit there with your experts and show them, well, what if this happens? Let's have a look, and you can produce a result like that. Whereas, traditional statistical analysis, you have to go away, you have to run it, you come back with it, and generally, most times, this is what I always get feedback from experts, is that they often go to these type of expert workshops and they supply their knowledge, but they never get to see the result. And this year they're suddenly seeing what's the result of their work, and they love it. Any questions with that? It's pretty basic, as I said. That's a very simple model. You can run a sensitivity. That says sensitivity to findings. You hit. Oh, hang on. You have to select the node. Sensitivity to findings. It will tell you that. Well, not enough, but it's too small. Can't make the inference. Alright, you normally have a much bigger model than that. So
tomorrow every participant has to fill in the probability of illness and positiveness.
well, okay, so let's have a look. From what we did yesterday, I quickly last night edited our one and put in the new ones for, this is the wrong one again, sorry. So this is your model currently as stands, okay?
Oh my.
So you can see with the, and then this is it. So you're already a step ahead. You're not creating the model from scratch. But I followed that example. So you gave me, you wanted to put the Vietnam thing in. So that's all I did. I just added a node, put in economic change, put the links in the way it should be. Same with the social change. You had cross-border transfer. We didn't have. So we just added those extras. So it's very simple. But you can see at the moment it's if you look at economic change, because this is a new node, you see that actually probability is empty. So that has to, as you can see, these child nodes get quite complex with the amount, and so we have to get conditional probabilities for every single one of them, and that's how these networks work. So when you get to something like that's that mosquito management efficacy. So if you look at that table, you see it's huge. Yeah. Right? So we do have a trick, because can you imagine sitting there and asking experts to fill in every single one of them? They will lose interest very quickly. Yes. We have a software, another software, which we call the CTP calculator, which is conditional probability table calculator. Which we cheat, and we ask them. So let's just run this at the moment. Get that back up. All right, we'll do economic change. Okay. This one. I don't have much room to play here, but all right. So we'll just fill one in and show you how it works. So we say economic. It restricts how much I can write. Alright, if you look at that, there's only, it asks for the number of states. If you remember, the states are your categories underneath. So There's only two. So when we enter the child name, it'll tell you a child name has been entered. If you want to add more states, the problem with this particular calculator, you can only have 2 or 3 states. You can't have any more, which is unfortunate. Because sometimes you want more than 2 or 3 states. So, but we want to add those states. So you see here it says the most positive. Now the most positive means the most positive to your endpoint, to your aim. So in this case we're doing cause more harm. So what is the best to cause more harm in this case? So in this case it's yes, we want economic change. Because remember it's a risk analysis, we're looking at the negative side. We want to capture that negative impact. So does that make, this is really important that it's put in this way. So is that clear for everyone?
So in the hazard definitions, you will see under each hazard definition, it's got your state 1 and then state 2, and I think in one of them it's got state 3. But that's the order that they go in there. State 1 is the top one, state 2 is the bottom one.
State 1's always the one that's most detrimental
Yeah.
in this case. Yeah. So then
The
you
one
say,
that's most detrimental, you say?
Well, it's the thing that's going to change. So if you say, this hazard leads to change or stays the same,
Okay, and the changes.
is the thing that you're focusing on.
yeah. Okay, we want to put in the parents now. See here we've got parent 1, parent 2. You see, how many parents have we got though? Oh, for economic change this one. 4, that's right. So we've got 4. So we'll just start off with parent 1. So parent 1's healthcare. There's only 2 states, so the most you have increase and the same. Yep. Ignore this type of parent. You don't have to change that. All right. We want parent 2. We add parent 2, and that's tourism. This you have to be really careful you get all this right, because it looks really easy to follow now, but you can imagine sitting in a workshop and you've got people waiting for you, and because you can't save these and have them ready to go. This software doesn't allow that, so you have to do it on the spot. And so it's quite a bit of pressure on you. You have to get these up and going for how many groups you got. And try and keep in your head what's happening, who's doing what, and so it's part. So we put 2 in, so now because there's 4 parents, you want to add more, so we add parent to end of table, that's on parent 3, there's lost income. Again, yes or no. The people following me, they understand what I'm doing? I'll just put expense change, household. You're limited to how much you can write here. Yeah, I think that's all I can write. And this is again is yes, no. Okay, you see I put 4 parents in for economic change. So you've got your healthcare, tourism, lost income, and household expense change. They all have the 2 states. Ignore the type. So then we go edit the elicited probability table. So you hit that, and you'll get a very shortened version. So what they do is the very first row here is the very best outcome, and it gets confusing to explain this to. It's the best outcome, but in our case, because it's risk analysis, it's negative. it's most detrimental to the environment, it's the one that causes more harm. So we've got the absolute worst. So it's increased healthcare costs, decreased tourism, lost income, and increased household expense change. So we will do this one. So what's the probability you think that will be? Yes, remember the economic change, yes it changes or no it doesn't. So do you think that the economic, what do you think the probability would be? And you have to 2 between 0 and 100.
0.8%.
80? 80 and 20? Oh, sorry. Now, important to remember, the very top one, that sets your upper limit. So you can never go higher after that. So because this is the absolute worst case, cause more harm, so it sets your limit. So you can, any of the others, you cannot go higher than 80.
100.
You can do 100?
100, that's right.
Yeah. All right, so obviously you can never go higher than 100 too, but that sets your limit, but you don't have to do 100. You can go 95, 90, whatever it is, yeah, but if you don't think so. So the very next one is the lowest. There's no change. So healthcare stays the same, yeah, all the way. So 0 and 100. So that's setting, you're basically setting your limit 0 to 100 in that case. And of course, again, you don't have to stick to 0, you can have it. All right, so then, the next 4 is only one thing changes, only one variable. So that gives you an idea of how much influence that variable has. So in this case, we've got in this third row. All right, everything stays the same as in the first row, except healthcare stays the same.
So what's the probability of that?
Yes. So everything's good. No, well, everything's
It's less than.
impacted, but the healthcare doesn't change. 80? Yep. And then the next one is tourism stays the same. So everything else is increasing economic change, but tourism doesn't change. So you can understand this is where you see what's the more important is that healthcare is more important or tourism is more important as far as economic change.
Does it have to be lower than?
It doesn't have to be lower, it can be the same,
It can be the same.
you can't go higher than your first one. Yeah.
So it can be higher, like 95.
You can.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yep.
So it's really based on your judgment.
Yes.
What-
Yeah.
Okay.
The only restriction is it cannot go, it can be the same, it can't go higher. I mean, you've got
First
100
one.
here, but if you had something else,
Yeah,
you can't go higher. Yeah.
Okay. This will be easy to explain.
No, but it takes a little bit, and what I find is most people, first 3 are a struggle, and then they get it, and they
Okay.
start to go. But the first 3 are a struggle, and this is why instead of doing this as a whole group, I tend to, when I present it to I show them as a whole group how this works, and then we break up into little groups, and then they work through individual ones, and then you have someone who understands the student and they're sitting with them and helping them through it. Yeah. So this one says tourism stays the same.
Okay, refresh again. What does it mean if tourism stays the same but healthcare increases?
Healthcare increases,
Lost income.
increases, so everything's having an impact on economic change, but tourism hasn't changed.
What is the probability that tourism hasn't changed?
See, and you see how it's hard to get just the give a value.
Yeah,
It is difficult, and this is why people struggle with it.
yeah. She wants 100.
You can put 100. So let's just put 100 and see what happens, okay? But that's what you're saying is tourism there is very important.
And you're saying that the impact of tourism is more important than the impact of healthcare just on its own.
Yeah. On economics.
On economics. And then the next one,
The next one is everything's impacting except that you don't have any lost income.
Okay, that's impossible. So 30.
30?
okay?
Yes, it's a tab. And the last one, everything's impacting, but there's no increased household expense change.
Let's just put down 50-50. and see what it's like.
All right, so
sense
that-
or not.
It is. You can show it is difficult, but and then what you're doing is because you're listening is you have to sit there with your experts and walk them through this and say, right, what you're saying here with this is you're saying tourism is more important than healthcare. Lost income is not really.
Wait. Why are we saying that tourism is more important?
Because you've given them more weight. That if you've got 100 to 0 saying that,
But
it's really important that if
But it's the same with healthcare. 100, 0, and 100. 0.
you can put that too.
It's equal.
It's equal.
So tourism is equal as health.
So you can have that. You can put both as 80 or both as 100
Right.
Or any other.
or any other thing.
Right.
Yeah. But right now, by having 100, you're saying that the impact of tourism is greater than the impact of health.
That's what I don't understand.
Well, because you've said here, see how this one up the top says healthcare stays the same. There's a
Healthcare-
decrease in tourism. But your income is you lose income and you have increased expense.
Which one are you pointing to?
The
1, 2, 3. Okay, same.
See?
Oh, healthcare is the same.
yes,
Okay,
But-
tourism has decreased.
No, you want the fourth one.
fourth one.
Yeah.
So there now you've said that healthcare has increased.
And tourism is the same.
Yeah.
And then we put that as 100 and 0. Why would that make tourism more important than healthcare when you have that number
Well, I
1?
got to get my rabbits out.
Number 1, you have the 100 and 0 where healthcare is.
Yeah.
Remember that here we're looking at is there economic change occurring, right? That's the question we're talking about here. Is there economic change?
Is there economic change? That's the question.
Yes.
Okay.
So in this case we're looking at does it increase? Does the economic costs increase because of this? So you've got down here when everything is increased, when healthcare increases, when tourism decreases, so that the revenue for tourism isn't coming in, there's lost income and household expenses go up, there's definite, 100% there's going to be economic change.
No, actually what it says there is that you've got 80.
No, this is the top one here.
Oh, top one.
She's talking about the top
Top
one.
one, yeah.
Okay, but then, and then if everything stays the same and nothing changes, you've got no economic change. So that's zero. That's simple, and then when it gets hard, you start looking at individual variables. So here we're saying tourism decreases, there's a lost income, and household control goes up, but the actual expense of healthcare stays the same, it does not change. So people aren't coming, and so you're losing money in hospitality or something like that. So there's your lost income, and also households are controlling more because they're more concerned about it, but you're actually not getting more, potentially not getting more dengue cases, so you actually, your healthcare has increased. So that's that scenario. So, and you're saying there that, but there's still an economic change because you've lost your tourism, the local people have lost money, and households are costing more for households. So, and you're saying it's still very important that, or because all that's happening, but and then you've got the next one where you've got, well, if everything's impacting, but it's not impacting on the tourists because the tourists are still coming. What you're actually saying then is, well, with 100%, you're saying because you're doing negative, it's tourists
It's less important.
are less important.
It's
Yeah.
less important.
Yes, it's less people coming,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you have a loss of income.
yeah. So for that,
Explains change.
yeah,
So
so
that-
what,
No, so in this one here, the 100, you're saying that tourism doesn't change. Tourism's the same, but you're having increased healthcare, you're having lost income, and you're having increased household expenditure.
Wait,
But you're still saying economic change is huge, even though it's not impacting. So maybe you need to reduce that down. If you,
okay. So what you've said is that the impact, that if tourism is having it has not changed.
yeah,
There's no
we're-
economic impact,
We're
yes.
looking at number 4,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So your
Okay.
healthcare cost has gone up.
Right, healthcare costs.
Your
don't
lost
count.
income has gone, you've lost more income,
Uh-huh.
and it's costing your household more. You're saying that the impact of that is the same as if tourism, as scenario 1, which is your worst case scenario, which is a bit,
which is showing that tourism hasn't got an influence.
is having no influence. But you've just said
That tourism.
that tourism is important because when you have decreased tourism, but your healthcare cost remains the same, it's having an impact.
So I think you need to reduce that. If you'll say, you've said all the way through, tourism is really important.
Yeah, I just need to understand the logic
Yeah.
to sink it in. Is
Okay.
it, yeah.
So let's go back to the top. If your cost of your healthcare goes up, you lose tourism,
Yes.
you lose income, and your household expenditure goes up. That's your worst case scenario.
That's the worst, right.
Okay. Now, the next three, the next one is saying that nothing changes, everything remains the same, and so that's your best case.
Right, right.
The next three are looking at trying to work out, the next four I should say, are trying to work out the relative importance of healthcare, tourism, lost income and expenses. So if just one of those changes, what's the overall impact?
Right.
So with the first one, it says, let's
Healthcare.
test what the impact of tourism is. So a decline in tourism,
Ah.
what would that trigger? And you've said 80-20. Maybe that's too high. The second one says the only thing that changes is health.
It's health.
The third one says the only thing that changes is lost income.
Lost income. House.
And the fourth one, the only thing that changes is
Yes.
household expenses. And so you're being asked to effectively rank health, tourism, lost income, and expenses relative to each other. So of those four, which do you think will have the greatest impact on its own?
Lost income.
Lost income. Okay, well that should have then the highest value. So what value do you think would be the consequence of lost income?
Five.
Yeah, okay.
85?
85.
Okay. Now, what's the next most important?
Is it tourism or is it healthcare? Well, with tourism, people get income. Healthcare usually, well, now we have BPJS, so the government is paying for that. So maybe tourism would be next.
Okay, so let's do tourism. So what would be the result of just tourism being impacted?
The economic, it's what is, whose are the perspectives? The government, households?
The
community?
people. It's the
I
people.
mean, the economic loss, it's, well, to whom?
To people.
It's
To society.
To government?
Overall.
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 If there is an economic loss, basically, it doesn't matter to who, there is a,
I mean,
Or
healthcare,
economic.
somebody has to pay for healthcare, but since we have social health insurance, then the government pays.
Okay, but in the end, the
But
country
it's-
pays, somebody pays.
yeah, it's,
Somebody
the
pays,
question
yeah.
is, because the note
It's
is,
not free.
it's increasing.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is our perspective, the perspective of the people, then it's free.
Yeah.
But in the end,
Healthcare
but
doesn't have any
nationally,
effect.
you do actually pay because
Yeah.
you pay taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
And the
Nothing's free, I can
definition
assure you.
Sure. Somebody play.
Yeah. So if we said for you said tourism, or you said which one are we at?
We're at tourism, this
Yeah.
one, the rent stays the same. That's your tourism one.
So maybe according to Pahari, the next thing that is important should be healthcare.
Healthcare.
Okay, well that's that. No, that's not healthcare. That's tourism. Because tourism decreased, but it's healthcare costs increased.
No,
Tourism is the last.
No, because remember we're looking at negative here.
Yeah, exactly. You've got tourism decreased,
Yeah.
and they're saying healthcare was more important, so they want to do healthcare, which is the next one down.
Okay, so let's put health.
No, it's a risk analysis, it's negative, so I'm looking at. So every time, look at the best case scenario is the top one,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. And the work.
So
No,
every
your
time-
worst case scenario is the top one.
Or the best case scenario for having harm,
Yes.
right, is
Okay.
the top one. So that's the ultimate, so every time one of them changes from that top one
Yeah.
is what we're dealing with.
Hmm.
So when you, healthcare is actually that when it goes from increase to same. That's what we're looking at the effect of that. So it's hard with risk analysis because you're always going to think of the negative. So that third one is healthcare. Healthcare is the only thing that changes. The fourth one, the only thing that changes
No,
is tourism. Is tourism. That's how they work. This is how
Yeah.
these statements work.
Drop lower
Yes.
because
Below the GDP.
yeah.
Because if
The biggest change comes from health.
Okay, by making it drop lower, that makes it more important.
Because what you're trying to work out is your top one is your what's going to have the greatest effect on economic change? And that's increased healthcare, decreased tourism, increase in your lost income, and your... So, if the third one down, your healthcare hasn't changed.
The same.
It's the same. Everything else has gone. Your tourism has dropped, your lost income has increased, and your expenses have gone up.
But the healthcare stays the same.
Same.
Healthcare stays the same. And if you've got important, if your healthcare is important, the cost of it, then that should
lower.
That should go lower.
Got it.
So-
25.
Yep. Now the fourth scenario down is the one that says that the thing that doesn't change is tourism. What would be the consequence on economics of tourism
If everything
staying?
else is having an impact, but not
But
tourism.
not tourism.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. Because the lost income. Ini harus duga-duga nih.
Because I mean, obviously, the lost income, you're not just looking at
Okay.
tourism. There's also a lot of other industries.
Right. Lost income is loss of livelihood. There are other industries
Yeah.
there. Yeah, tourism is, okay, it's an income, but income is more than tourism. Tourism is,
Yeah.
people,
that's right.
the bullets are not coming. But it's, yeah, okay, so maybe that's not as important now that I've seen it in another light.
Yes.
It's less expensive.
Just imagine tomorrow, next day. And go,
Oh, where's our
So,
posting?
There is no check of inconsistencies because we might put in numbers which create inconsistencies.
So the point of this is you put in these values, right? And this, the whole point of this software is that it only gives you maximum up to say 10 probabilities, and you fill this out, and then given your answer from you've given it the relationship of each variable to the others, it works out the rest of them, and then you check them. Now, if you've done these probabilities and you're playing with your network and it's not going right, that's where you need to go back and readdress those probabilities and say, right, well actually it's not capturing what should be happening, and you change them accordingly. So as I said, it's continually updatable. So if you put something in and it's like, well, no, that's not really what we're trying to get at.
At least if we put in numbers and then add up more than 100.
Oh, it won't work.
It won't work.
It
Okay,
will crash,
that's
okay?
first, that's
It
important.
won't crash, but it won't give it to you. So that's really easy. But it's if it comes out and it's coming up saying, let's say you put these probabilities in and it says, it's coming up that the household expense is the most important. And you say, well, hang on, that's not what we're thinking. So what have we done here? Let's go and readdress those probabilities and see where we've gone wrong.